On Wednesday, the House Judiciary Committee will hear from constitutional scholars on grounds for impeachment. They will offer their views on Article 2, Section 4 of the Constitution, which reads, "The President, Vice President, and all civil officers of the United States shall be removed from office on impeachment for and conviction of treason, bribery, or other high crimes and misdemeanors." This same hearing took place in 1998 during the impeachment of President Bill Clinton. Georgetown law professor Susan Low Bloch was among the experts who testified 21 years ago. And Susan joins me now from Washington. Welcome, Susan. It's such a pleasure to have you with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Now, in your testimony to the House Judiciary Subcommittee, you discussed the specific grounds for impeachment. Let's listen to what you said.
But the fact that the Constitution specifically enumerates treason and bribery as the quintessential impeachable offenses suggests that impeachable wrongs are those that undermine the state or our constitutional system. As others have indicated, it is acts by which the president or other civil officers misuses his office to undermine the state or otherwise acts in a way to threaten the constitutional scheme that are the principal subjects of impeachment.
So let me get right to the heart of the matter right here in 2019. Do you believe that President Trump's efforts with Ukraine amount to bribery as laid out in the Constitution?
His actions are clearly an abuse of his office. What he has done is use the money that Congress appropriated to try and get Ukraine to help him undermine Biden, his potential political rival, and undermine our election and political system. So that is abuse of his office and an impeachable offense.
And so then what would you say to those who cite Gerald Ford's famous quip that an impeachable offense is whatever a majority of the House of Representatives considers it to be at a given moment in history?
Well, I think that's a little cynical. I mean, in some sense, it's true because if a majority of the House votes for it, then that is an impeachment. It's up to the Senate then to not convict if there's really no abuse of office. I don't believe Ford would have said that after he became president. I think it was an unwise use of his language.
Right. Okay. So where do you think then we might see the most nuance tomorrow when these constitutional law experts will be facing questions from both Democrats and Republicans?
Well, I don't know what Jonathan Turley is going to say. He's the one who's selected by the Republican members of the committee. Sorry. I suspect the other three are going to say that Trump's withholding of the money for Ukraine and his soliciting help in the gathering dirt on a Biden is going to be impeachable. I'm not sure how Jonathan Turley is going to get out of that.
So let me ask you about the other part of the argument the Democrats are likely to lay out. Aside from the Ukraine piece of it, they're likely to bring up articles of impeachment relating to obstruction based on what they say was the president intimidating witnesses and asking witnesses who'd been subpoenaed by Congress to testify not to testify, preventing them from testifying. When you look at those actions as related to impeachable offenses outlined in the Constitution, do you believe that those also rise to the level of impeachable offenses?
Actually, yes, I do. I think that obstructing an impeachment and obstructing justice is an impeachable offense. Nixon would have been charged with those had he not resigned. And I think that there are also some charges in the Mueller report that may, in fact, be raised in this impeachment.
So, Susan, back in 1998, there was talk as to whether President Bill Clinton's actions made him unfit for office. And here's how you addressed that at the time. Let's listen.
But the inquiry is not whether the president is fit or unfit for office. That's clearly not the terminology adopted by the Constitution. It's much too broad and amorphous. I agree that a president who does commit treason, bribery, or other high crimes and misdemeanors is unfit for office. But those are the only actions for which he can be impeached and removed by the Congress. Any other transgressions which some believe might make him unfit for office are to be judged not by the Congress, but by the electorate. I cannot stress enough the fact that the framers deliberately rejected a parliamentary system, and that if we lower the bar of what constitutes and warrants impeachment, we will be moving unconstitutionally toward.
So, Susan, there you sort of make the distinction between offenses that require removal by Congress or offenses that require removal by the electorate in the next election. And of course, you must be aware that some who are arguing that the president should remain in office, that yes, maybe he did do some untoward things with Ukraine, but they don't rise to the level of impeachment, and that the American people can make their own decision in 2020. Do you think that that argument holds water in this case?
The difference between what Trump has done and what Clinton did is that Trump has abused his office. He has used his office for personal gain. And Clinton didn't do that. Clinton clearly misbehaved in the office and should be criticized for it. But it is not an abuse of office and doesn't warrant removal of the president.
I just want to ask you something, though. Some would say it was an abuse of office in that he was able to have an affair with this young woman because of his position.
Well, I do think now in the Me Too movement, we probably would look at what Clinton did a little differently than we did back in 1999. And I'm still not sure it would be an impeachable offense. It's clearly untoward behavior. I'm not sure that's what the founders had in mind when they said treason, bribery, or other high crimes and misdemeanors.
Right. And so lastly, then, what would your advice be tomorrow for the legal scholars who will be facing questions tomorrow?
I think they would say much of what I just said, that the actions that President Trump has taken did abuse his office for personal gain. And that's the kind of event that warrants a charge of impeachment.
All right. Well, Susan Low Bloch, we thank you so much for joining us and sharing all of your expertise with us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.